Hey, Tracy here. I have the multifaceted, multi-talented photographer, podcaster, teacher, author, Anthony Sheardown with me. Hey.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And before we get started, this week's episode is sponsored by GL Heritage Brewing Company. It's a warm and friendly destination with a cozy inside and a spacious outside where you can enjoy watching the sunset over a game of cornhole. Come out and enjoy their award-winning brews and fabulous seltzers. I tried the blueberry one and it was really, really good. If you want to know more about the brewing process, GL Heritage will allow you to have tours or you can have private events there. Make sure to stop by if you're in the Amherstburg area. Check out GL Heritage Brewing on social media to learn about upcoming events. Now, Anthony, I know you're young, and how long have you been doing photography?
I've been doing it full time for 9.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it kind of goes by fast.
It really does. Now, do you have a certain genre that you do, or you just like all forms of photography?
Yeah, I kind of like to split it into like two categories, like the business side, like my work, and then like my personal side. Mm-hmm. So like on the business side, I do everything from like weddings to commercial work, real estate, video stuff, headshots, families. And then on like the personal side, I would say like travel, landscape, documentary, street, adventure, whatever.
Well,
everything.
It keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Is it something you always wanted to do?
No, I just like after high school, I like was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I took a year off, and I had always like kind of been inspired to do something creative, but I didn't really like have a medium. I was like, I bought a camera, and I was like, I always like started things and stopped them, and then I told myself, I was 18, and when I bought it, and I was like, you're not allowed to stop. And from that day forward, I never stopped, and I've done something every day since, and it's been like 12 years or something, 11 years.
Every single day?
Every day.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, is it just sometimes you're just out and about doing things and for yourself?
Yeah, just like I'm just working hard every day. Like back then, I didn't even know, like everybody said like you couldn't like have a job as a photographer, but I don't know, like I spent every day, like I just tried my best to like do everything I could, and I always said yes to everything, and I just like explored every avenue and like started reading books and stuff, and then that was it. I don't know, I never stopped, and I still haven't.
What is your favorite book?
Like photo book?
The photo book.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
It is.
Oh my God. For street photography, I like Vivian Meyer's books. I like Daniel Arnold has a book called Pickpocket that he put out a couple years ago. Is that what it's called? No, it's called In the Woods. That's really, really good. I like Stephen Shore's, one of his books. He's really good. He's like a contemporary landscape photographer from like the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
I have a Henry Cartier-Bresson book of like really old school stuff that's good. My favorite kind of headshot stuff are people that use like wet plate collodion, that process, where like they develop it on like a piece of steel or a piece of glass, and they'll do like headshots, like pop-ups in like New York and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Just take people off the street and like take their photo and then develop it. It's so cool. That stuff's sweet.
That would be nice. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, you've done a lot of traveling. I didn't realize. Before I even go any further, we have this book here, California Gold, which is Anthony's new book, and it's coming out July 26th.
You got the first one.
Yes, I got the first one, and I really, really do love it. Everything on it has been shot with film, which I've never done it before.
Do it. It's the best. And you already know how to shoot, so like you'll be fine.
Yeah, I try to do one shots when we're doing various events and stuff like that. I try to do one, maybe two shots at a time instead of like being click happy, because I hate having to cull it.
Yeah, no,
Drives me nuts.
for sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Drives me nuts.
That was the nice thing about this book is like usually when I travel and like I'm going through my photos, like I always have like a few of everything, and that takes a lot of time, especially with like my personal work, like to pick them because you're really focused. With these, there was one of everything, so it was just like pull it up and like color correct it, and it's like ready to go.
Well, see, when I was growing up, that's what it was. It was all film. So you'd bring it to the photo mat and then have to wait the week or however long and to get them in, and you'd always be so excited. Now, out of all your rolls of film that you took, how many were like...
I think this book there's 144 pages. So like, let's guess, because there's like some of the sequencing, there's a blank page.
Yeah.
And then there's some like, text on some at the front and back, whatever. There's probably 130 to 135 photos in the book. The project in general had like at least 1,500 photos total. So out of like the 1,500 to like 2,000 I took, I think I ended up like editing and putting out like I was happy with about like 600 of them.
Oh, okay.
And then 130 made the book from that 600. So
that's still really good.
Some of them are good, but like maybe they're too similar to one that's already in there because it's from like the same scene or something. Or like, what's funny is like there's actually some is like if I had to pick like one or the other, like there's some photos in this book that I like other ones that aren't in the book more. But the photo in the book, like it tells us, like it helped tell the story or sequence the photos together.
There are some in here, and a lot of it is like my type of photography. And this is always going to be my favorite because I love that. I love that vehicle. But you have a lot of really nice shots that are stuff that I would do. Like they're just memories that you don't want to forget. And they may not be the hot spot or the place that everybody else takes. I love these. I love everything about it. And then I was looking through your website and found out this isn't even your first book. How many have you done?
I like 3.5.
Yeah?
Because like one's like a little zine. It's just like a little thing. But no, this would be like my third like book.
Book?
Yeah. Yeah, the first one was Iceland. But that one is like a photo book with a written narrative. Like I wrote throughout the whole thing. Like it's a really like personal book. A lot of people comment more on like the words in that book than the photos actually. And then I did the little zine from a Nicaragua project. And then my last book, which came out like 2.5 years ago, was Altofino, like in BC, the surf town.
And that one is just at...
Indigo?
Indigo.
Yeah, it's at Indigo. It's at all the local ones too. I really like push that book hard. Yeah, that one was fun. The thing about that book was I was going out there during COVID, like lockdowns. So I got to capture the town with only the locals and no tourists. So it's kind of different.
That's nice to have that quiet.
Yeah.
Like we were supposed to go to New York for my 50th birthday in July 2020. Just as New York shut down and they weren't letting everybody in. And I always thought it would have been really, really cool to be on the streets of New York and it be desolate and get photos of that.
Yeah, that when you asked me about my favorite photo books and I mentioned Daniel Arnold's, he put out a book 2 or 3 years ago and most of the photos are from like before 2017. And he has one photo in it from 2020 of like one of the main streets in New York, like Fifth Ave, and it's in like end of April, and it's empty, and it's cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's sad, but cool.
Yeah. It's sad, but cool.
What inspired you to create this book?
So I'd been going out to California a lot. The first time I went was in 2019, and then within that first year, I went 3 times. And then I went right before we like locked down for COVID. So like whatever, I got back March 2020, and then couldn't travel for like a year and a half. And then in October 21, so a year and a half later, they announced that you could cross the border again with the test. The day they announced it, I bought a ticket to California for like 3 weeks later. I was like, we're going right back. That was the last place I was before COVID. We're going right back.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten a new film camera. And it takes the same lenses as my digital one. So it's easy to bring. So I brought it. And on that trip, I was there for like 2 weeks. And I shot a really heavy mix of film and digital. And towards the end of the trip, I was really shooting the film. I was really having fun. And I didn't know what I was getting because it was film. But I was really having fun. And I was taking different kind of pictures. I was taking more pictures that like called to me and like inspired me rather than like looking for like a banger photo,
Yeah.
And then I got back from the trip and I sent the film off and I got it back and I was like, oh my God, like, wow. I was so stoked on it. And then that was at the time I was finishing my last book. Like as that book was coming out, I was into the start of this project. And then I went back again. We were out there during our honeymoon and I like went crazy on this project. And then I got those back and I was like even more comfortable with it now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is gonna be something. So then I went back again like a couple months later. And then I was like, yep, there's enough for a book. Yeah. But I hadn't shot enough like in San Francisco. So we went back to San Francisco so I could like wrap up the project up there, you know? And
was this just an excuse to keep going?
Yeah, it was definitely to keep going. But yeah, and then I felt like I had like all grounds covered when I went up there and did some stuff up north. Yeah,
it's definitely a place that I've always wanted to go, and especially now.
It was funny because the last trip to San Francisco, like number 4 for the book, I was like, I don't want to shoot film anymore. I was back to like wanting to do digital. Because it's a lot to travel with the film. It can't go through the airport scanners. So every time you go to the airport, you have to get in a fight.
And explain it.
You have to ask it to get hand checked, and then they say no, and then you say yeah, and then you get in an argument, or then they don't do it, or they do it, but they make you wait, or they like open the back of your camera. It's just a nightmare. I hate it. It's a terrible process.
I mean, they're not used to how many people use film anymore.
Yeah.
But have you found that your digital photography is changed now?
For my personal work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to, we were going to Cuba in my midst of my film craze, like in the middle of this project. So we were about to leave. I had all my film packed and everything, and I go, oh, wait, we're going to Cuba. They're not going to care. They're going to put it through the scanner. I'm going to ask them to hand check. They're going to say no. So I was like, I could either get there and they could put it through, and then I'm not going to shoot on it because it could be ruined. Or I could shoot an entire week, 20 rolls of film, and then they could put it through and it could be ruined. So right before we left, I just took my digital camera. And when we were there, I was like, I'm going to pretend like I'm shooting a film. I put it on single shot only. When I shoot film, I usually shoot on shutter priority instead of manual, just because like if you're trusting the meter in the camera anyway, you might as well just shoot like that.
Yeah.
So I shot on my digital camera like that. And I was only allowed to take one picture of everything, just like film. And I stuck to it, and I loved it. And I came back, and I had enough from this project where I pulled up a Cuba photo that had a lot of colors in it, like it had blue, red, green, whatever. I pulled up a couple California ones from the film, and I went in Lightroom, and I made a preset that mimicked the tones as best I could.
Yeah, because those tones are really, really nice.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. And a good photo doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The okay photos, it matters, I find. But a great one, it doesn't matter. And then I was like, yeah, so then I got back into digital, and I'm still on the digital kick, actually.
Yeah, because I find that your pictures in here remind me, I just had to look it up to make sure I had the name right. Wes Anderson, his movies.
Oh, thanks. That's a pretty good compliment.
Well, no, the coloring and the color grading, and it just really reminded me, especially of his last one that came out.
He shot that movie on Kodak film.
Oh, yeah.
Motion picture film, different film.
Yeah, obvious.
But still Kodak colors, and all this whole book is on Kodak film, so yeah. But a lot happens, like, when it comes off of that roll, like, it gets scanned, and then the lab corrects it, and then I get it, and then I correct it a little bit, so.
You can still correct it?
I slightly touch up the JPEGs or a TIFF file. Nothing crazy, but a little bit.
Yeah.
But it really gets corrected by the person in the lab.
Okay.
Like when it goes through like a Noritsu or Frontier scanner, like they're color correcting it like pretty heavily to get it to like look how it's supposed to. So you're like really putting your trust in the people at the lab. Somebody in a lab is color correcting every one of your pictures. They're just doing it quickly, but they are correcting everyone to make it even.
And then you can do it on top, which
slightly, not as you don't have as much control as they have on the scanner, but those scanners are like $20,000. So like I don't have one of those scanners, but like I want that quality from the scan. So like it just makes sense to do that. And if you don't like it, you can ask them to like tweak it, and then they'll send it back to you. Yeah. So for the San Francisco work, I said this doesn't match. And I was like, you guys scanned my other work. So I actually sent them the files from the past few scans, and then they just recolor corrected all the work from the last trip to make it match.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you don't just do photography and that. You also started teaching a few courses.
Yeah.
What are you teaching?
So last semester I taught I think it was called Mobile Photography in the Media, just a photography course at the journalism program at St. Clair for first year students. It had never been taught before. It's a new course, so like I built it kind of all myself. Like they give you the things you have to teach, and then like you add everything that you think needs to be added. I made the whole thing essentially, like every week's lesson plan, and I had a blast teaching it all winter semester. It was super fun. And then this semester, through the summer, I'm teaching at the Media Convergence program at St. Clair, podcasting class.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What kind of podcasting is it going to be? Is it all behind the scenes, in front? Because I know Dan taught you the podcasting, but it was more like what we're doing here, the script writing and.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to the one Dan taught us, but Dan taught me in the journalism program. I'm teaching to Media Convergence students, which is like, that's a more advanced program. Like, to take that program, you used to have to be a graduate of another program like journalism or PR or something from the university. So everybody comes in with like a little bit more knowledge. So a lot of it is just like, they're giving me scripts, I'm like looking them over, but they already know how to record and edit. And I'm just like I'm more guiding. So more so than teaching, I'm helping them with things that they don't understand and giving them like tips and stuff like that. But they have more knowledge than like a basic first year student like I was teaching last semester. Yeah. They're essentially like 3 years in and like a whole new program.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you like teaching?
It's a blast. I like it. Yeah.
So are you going to do a fall course as well?
I was supposed to do a fall course for PR, a different photography class. But I don't think that they have as many students as they thought they were going to have in that program, so I don't think I'm doing it now, which is okay because I'm busy in the fall. But I'm going to do my class again next winter.
Oh, okay.
Like the one that I did. I call it my class because like I was
You created it.
I'm the only one who's taught that class so far.
It's yours.
Yeah, like this podcasting class is a full-timer, Dave. He's been teaching the class for a long time, but he's off for the summer. So he did the first 6 weeks, and I did the last 9.
Okay.
So I'm just essentially helping him.
Because I'm thinking about it now, because he also does Creatives of Windsor podcast. Way back in the day, you said about 10 years ago, Dan taught you podcasting. Did you always want to do a podcast, or was that a required course? Or
yeah, it was just a course you had to take in that program. But I didn't have the idea until a few years ago, and I like talking to other creatives in the city, and I used to do a lot more like shoots for fun with people around the city. But I got out of it and started shooting a lot more travel stuff for fun. And I was like, I thought of the idea for a podcast, and I was like, obviously as a photographer and a videographer, I knew how to do the audio editing and the filming and everything, as you and your husband with your same thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. And then I hummed and hawed about it, and then I was just like, you know what? Let's just do it.
Why not?
Yeah.
I know. I was the same way. It was like I'm watching other people. I'm like, I can do that. Don't know why I thought I could do it. It was never anything I ever wanted to do. I like being behind the camera, but it's fun. It's different. And I'm like you, like I always said I didn't like people, but I'm finding now, seriously, I'm finding as I'm getting older, I actually really enjoy meeting people and
cool people,
different creatives and business people, and they're just a lot of fun and really interesting.
Yeah.
I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've loved it. Like, it's great. And you get to talk to people that you're interested in. Like, I see people doing cool stuff, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm interested in you, like, right now. Like, I want to talk to you. So, like, you know, you have them on, and that makes for, like, the best interviews, you know? I think it's better, like, when they kind of come in our path. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, like, yeah, you want to be on the next one?
Yeah. Kind
of thing. Without even planning it. Like, my next guest is the lead singer of a band that I saw on Saturday night. But Taya, I think her last name's Fanera. She's the lead singer of Your Rich Friends, that band. Yeah,
Taya, doesn't she work for Elite?
Yes.
Yeah, I know her very well because we do their pictures.
Oh, there you go.
She's such a good singer. And we've taken some pictures of her and Lisa just for fun.
Awesome. Yeah, sweet. So Lisa's married to one of my really, really good friends, Michael.
So
Taya, I saw her play, and I was just like, I really liked their performance. I was like, oh, this is sweet. And it kind of, I was inspired by their show. So then I just reached out and I was like, do you want to come on? Because like I'm interested in like what, like I want to talk to you now after I saw you do something. And I've done that with most of my guests. Just like I was at their show or I saw them doing something and I was like, oh, I have questions for you, I'm curious. Yeah.
And is there anybody else that you have, or do you just plan them like spur of the moment? It's like, oh, I like this person, so let's see.
Yeah, like I have a list that I've made, and when I see people, I'll throw their name on it, or people will reach out to me and ask to come on, and I'll throw their name on the list. Because, like I said, I only do like one every like 3 to 4 weeks. And one, I have to be like really interested in you at the moment, or else it's not going to be like, I have to be curious about like you have to, about what you're doing, or else it's not fair to anybody. Like if I'm not curious about you, I'm not going to ask you good questions. And I also like to keep them like, for example, like my next guest is Brian from Craft Heads.
Oh, yeah.
Who I've always wanted to have on. I had Tom Lucier on last summer.
Yes.
I can't have Brian and Tom Lucier back to back. They're the same guest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pretty
Like
much. Have a round table then.
Yeah, like it's or like I had Tori Roovers on.
Yeah.
And I had Dan McDonald. I can't have them back to back. They're the same. They're both radio hosts. So like I try to keep them, and I like to separate like what they do too. Like, oh, you're a visual artist, you're this, you're that, and I like to spread them out in that way too, just to have like kind of more diversity.
Yeah.
So I'm just usually people come to me like Taya, and I'm like I just see them and I'm like I'm interested.
You have to.
And then sometimes when I'm looking for one, I'll just go through that list I have and be like, oh, this doesn't go with the last 3. We should put them in now.
Do you find that if you know the person and it's harder?
Yeah, I like having people I've never met because you can ask them anything,
I know, that's what I was saying to Dan the other night, and he said he agreed, and he said the same thing. The more you know a person, the harder it is to interview them because you already know everything. So it's like, okay, what do I ask? What do I not ask? And just from watching different episodes or even knowing people in businesses, and it's like, it's the worst trying to figure out questions that people would want to know because I already know the answer to it.
Yeah, that's like a reason why I haven't had Michael DeFazio on. I've been friends with him for so long. We're good friends. We've talked, I've been friends with Dan for a while, but we haven't hung out in a while. So it was like a catch up.
Yeah.
Same with like Brian from Craft Heads. We were just catching up. But like Michael, I've talked to him too much over the last 10 years, like where I don't know what to ask him at all. Like I know everything I want to ask. And is it going to sound fake? I don't know, what are we going to talk about? I'll just have him on and we'll see what happens anyway. But that's why I haven't had somebody like him on yet. Because I just don't, I'm not curious. I know everything about you,
Ask him about his piano playing.
Oh yeah, because I know he started taking piano lessons. Yes.
And then he wasn't at the last 1 or 2 of their recitals, their showcases.
Okay. Yeah, that's how they met, I think, right? Him and Lisa?
I don't know if I wasn't sure which came first, him and Lisa or him and
I think he started taking piano lessons from her. Yeah, I think they said that because I did their wedding. Their secret wedding.
Their secret. Oh, you did that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been doing, Michael's probably my longest client in my business. I've been doing his photos since 2014, so 10 years. He was a kind of interesting story. I still do all his work to this day. Every time you've seen a picture of Michael's pieces, it's from me. Unless it's from a cell phone that they took. But he used to work out of his Nono's garage. And I would go and when he got his building, and I would help him deliver the pieces. So like we'd put it in his truck, his pickup truck, whatever, bring it to the client's house. I'd bring it in for him. We'd set it up. And then once it was set up, I would take pictures of it, which evolved into, he doesn't even do that anymore. And he's got a whole team, and he just sends me all his clients, and I reach out and I go on my own time, and we don't even really talk anymore. I shoot everything for him and I deliver it to a folder, and his social media people handle it. But
oh my goodness, he has people.
He has lots of people.
Oh
yeah, Mike. He's a very he likes to run his business like with a team.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want him on my show.
Yeah, do it.
No, No, he's your friend.
No, have fun.
No, I know. I'm the same way. Like I know them, and he's a busy guy. I wouldn't be able to get a hold of him anyway.
I like sharing guests with you. It's cool.
You know what? I do too. And even with David and watching the different podcasts, because I'll watch your podcast because I knew you had Dan on. And it just happened that David and I have had a couple people the same. But I like to watch ahead of time so that I'm not asking the exact same questions, and I can take it in a different direction. It's a different feel without it being like too much the same, because who wants to watch the same podcast with two different hosts?
True. I think another thing too, Dan's not an example of this because he's comfortable, but somebody who's not used to being interviewed, if they come on mine first and they go on yours or vice versa, they're going to be more comfortable on the second time. Yeah. Which is nice for both of us, whoever gets them second.
It's true. But I've had two with David that I've actually had to message him and go, okay, when are you putting it out? Because we ended up doing them on the same weekend. And this last time, I didn't know that he had done a podcast with this person. And then I did the podcast, and they both came out on the same day. And I felt so bad. I messaged him, and he's like, it's fine. It's okay. I'm like, I know, but to me, it was rude.
Yeah, no. I would feel bad about it, but like, that's kind of cool. We should do that and plan it.
All of us.
Oh, yeah, all three of us have the same person and put them out on the same day. That's funny. I don't know. I think it's cool to share people. Sometimes
I do. You find out different things.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're a lot younger than me, and you have different likes, different interests. So you're going to ask a lot of different stuff. Like, I would never have sat there and talked music for that long with Dan. Although the night of Masters of the Bruniverse, when he was judging it, and him and Jen from Tailgate Takeout, and me and John were sitting there, and we're sampling all of the beers, and we're just talking nonstop music and who we've met and who we've seen. But yeah, like you guys had a really good, really special interview, and I really liked it. And it was in a great area that I never would have been able to talk about.
Yeah, it's cool, right? To me, thanks. Yeah. You know what's funny about Jen? You brought her up again. She's the one who interviewed us about our podcasts in the drive.
Oh, that's funny. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That phone call.
Yeah. So she's interviewed us about these. What a full circle. I shoot for the drive too. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of funny to be.
And now we've both shot for WeTac.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny.
Little trio there.
We get the same thing.
I was so nervous for that. When she called up and she's like, here, I'm going to do an interview with you for the drive. And I'm like, why? Why me?
I got a heads up because I shoot for them.
Yeah, well, I kind of knew ahead of time. She had asked me, and that's why I'm like, well, but why? Like, I don't get it. And she's like, well, you're a staple. I'm like, well, no, not yet. I've only been here a couple of years, but apparently that's a staple now.
There's not a lot of us, you know. It's cool, yeah.
There's so much to do in Windsor-Essex County, and there's so many different businesses and different areas like music, and I think we need to have more podcasts, but in like different genres. Yeah, because ours are definitely different, and the way we format it is totally different. But we just have on people that are interesting. Like, it'd be cool. Like, me and you both just do anybody. Mm-hmm. It'd be cool to have ones that were more tailored to certain things. Yeah. We might. I know there's a few different podcasts that I haven't caught yet, but people have told me about them. Mm-hmm. But
there is a few. Yeah, there's definitely other Windsor ones. Yeah, that are tailored. There's like the Gold one with Mike Paccioni, Talking Gold or something like that. Mike owns the currency exchange place on Dougal.
Oh, Talking Gold would just piss me off because I'd want it.
Yeah, so they like just talk about money. He has like on business people and stuff like that. So that's a local one that is totally different. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, there's a few.
There's a few.
There's like there's a history one, Windsor history something.
Yes.
Or other. Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened to that one, and I've listened to some old ones where they don't do them anymore, and they were really good. And it's like, why would you stop?
Yeah.
Because they were really, really interesting. Not stuff that I would do or I had done, but I enjoyed listening to them. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they're in my playlist, and I've listened to them over COVID.
Another good one is Tori Ruvers from Mix 96.
Yes.
She had a podcast too.
I loved that.
Which was like obviously really good because she's a radio DJ.
I asked her, I'm like, why did you stop?
Yeah,
Like,
she stopped too. I think she probably, I don't know, she's on the radio all day
She's
for
busy,
work.
yeah.
But hers was good. She's
Really
better than all of us.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, hers was really good. Dan turned, I guess, a podcast into a show for Here and Now. That's just a fun thing for him. See, when the radio people do it, it becomes a big thing.
Okay, until you interviewed him, I had no idea about Here and Now.
Oh, really?
I had no idea. And then we talked for way too long the other night, and I didn't get a chance to ask him about it. But is it still on the air?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
But I'm not 100%. Because it's on Sunday evenings.
Yes.
You know what's funny is Dan interviewed me on there 9 years ago when I was still his student. Because I had my first art show coming up, and he had me on there. We did the interview in the radio booth.
Oh.
Because that studio was across the hall from the river. Mm-hmm. When the river was still a thing, and he was DJing on the river every day from like 3 to 7. So I went by, and on a commercial break, I'm sitting in the river booth, and he's like 93.9 the river, and he's like, "Okay, ready to do an interview?" I was like, I guess.
It's scary.
Yeah, it was scary in there.
It is, and you have this person behind glass that's watching your every move. It's like, okay, don't look. I do his shows, and I saw that the morning the morning drive was on YouTube, and then I'm like, oh God, don't do it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and Dan McDonald's on now on YouTube, and it's like, oh, son of a gun. Like, this was 2 days before my last one, and I'm like, oh man. He's like, you should be used to it. And I said, I know, but this was my safe spot. Now I got to put makeup on.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking for sure being interviewed.
I love that they're on YouTube now, so I don't have to just listen to them in the car when I'm walking the dog, and I can just have it on here. Because heaven forbid we have a radio.
See, I'm number what? What number am I? Like 80?
You are going to be 77.
77. Yeah, you've done more than more than triple. Almost 3 times.
I try to keep it once a week, once every couple weeks, and I've even had a few where I've done 2 in a week.
When I first started, I recorded a handful. I always had a few on the back burner, like the first half of last year.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if I don't have time to edit them, some sit too long, one sat too long. Mm-hmm. So now it's always just record, and then I don't have any on the back burners anymore.
The only thing I've learned, because I did get burned, especially with those pop-ups, that I just tell them nothing time sensitive. If I know it's going to be sitting, and I'll let them know, like this is not going to be out for a few weeks, or even in the spring when I had I was booked a few months in advance from people wanting to be on. I'm like, okay, but this is going to be a couple months in advance. So if you're hoping for it to be out at a certain time, A, let me know, or B, make sure that we don't talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense.
But it is nice to have a backup plan, because, anything could happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why it's easy just to do one at a time now. Yeah.
Well, I'll eventually. I'm going to run out of people to talk to eventually.
I don't think we're ever going to run out. There's so many people. You'll be good. You know what? I would love to revisit some too.
That's what I keep telling. There's a few of them that I've said we need to do it again, because it's been a couple of years and it's time. You guys are still around. Your businesses have changed, so why not?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I definitely haven't been around long enough to do it yet, but I'd love to have my first guest, Sebastian from Hutch. I'd love to have him back on at the 3-year anniversary or something.
Okay, did Dan die when he found out that you did Hutch? He talked to you about that, and then he was talking about it on here. I'm like,
so when he had me on Here and Now 10 years ago, we Hutch played the opening of that show we were promoting, and we played their music on the show while I was being interviewed. It was really cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So you need to get him back on.
Yeah, but no, because I need to have their drummer on, Robbie from the show.
Oh, okay.
From the band, sorry. I've had like their manager on, and yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. One day.
I think probably in the fall, some of my businesses, once they're done with their different markets and shows before the Christmas rush, I'll get them back on because that is a good idea. It's always nice to see. And I know Megan from Iris and Marnie, she was one of my first few podcasts, and she had just done a podcast the year before. It was somebody else. So I figured it'd be fun. We were friends, and I'm like, okay, this is a year since you started your business. Where have you gone? What's changed? What are you doing now? And it's been almost 2 years since she's been on. So I want to get her back on because I know she's changing her jewelry style and.
Yeah, it's cool. Like if a band had a new album come out or somebody did something new, a revisit would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few years in, I think, for me. See, but you're going to be at 2 years soon, so it's perfect.
Yeah, in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But let's get back to the topic of California Gold. Are you going to be doing another book, or are you going to do a part 2 to this?
I've decided that I've done too many books back to back, and I'm not going to do any big personal projects or shows for 5 years.
5 years?
Which is like
wow.
half of my career so far. So I put out a book in 2019, then I put out my zine in 2020, then I put out a book in 22, and now 24. So
oh my goodness.
I'm going to keep doing like the collaborative shows that I do with other artists and put my work in those, whatever. But no big projects that are just about me for 5 years.
And that'll give you the time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, you also make your own frames.
Yes.
Which are gorgeous.
Thanks. I have like 30 or 40 in the show.
So that'll be nice. So, well, I'm sad that this is going to be your last book, and I definitely have to get my hands on your other books because I really, really love this one.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed talking to you today. I could probably sit here for longer, but we will save it for the rehash.
Yeah, we'll have each other. I'll have you back on mine in like 3 years. It'll be
Just
perfect.
keep going back and forth. Well, thank you so much. And again, my name is Tracy Martins. Thank you for joining me for another episode of YQG in Bloom. And make sure to subscribe to my podcast and also to me on social media at YQG in Bloom Podcast, as well as Creatives of Windsor Podcast with Anthony Sheardown. That way you can catch all of our podcasts, and we will see you soon. You guys have a good day.